Just a second. Okay, you're live.
Okay. All right, good evening. I'm calling the meeting of the Southborough Zoning Board of Appeals to order for Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, Chapter 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meetings at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, we still do not have Paul getting into the meeting, Katie?
Not yet. He is rebooting.
Okay.
And it doesn't look like that worked.
Oh boy. Technical difficulties. If this isn't 2021, I don't know what is. So, I mean, our agenda tonight is the public hearing on 20 Turnpike Road. And beyond that, we have approval of meeting minutes from the November 16th meeting and a review of proposed updates to the ZBA appeal application that Katie has made. And then just, announcing our next meeting is January 20th. So maybe we can give Paul another minute. And if that doesn't work, then we'll just appoint both Doris and Jamie, and we'll have 5. So, is the applicant in the waiting room, Katie? Okay.
Yes, he is here.
Okay.
I'm just gonna send him another link. He asked for the link again.
Okay.
And he's gonna reboot one more time. There he is.
Do we want to approve the minutes?
We could certainly do that. Why don't we do that? Missing a few people probably, but
Everybody was present, so
I'm just looking for. Did you have are the minutes in this? I think they are in this email.
Yeah, the latest one, I think I forgot to add those.
Okay. Okay.
But I'll resend them to everybody.
It's okay. think. I did not. I don't think I read them.
I read through them and I didn't have any comments on them.
Comments either.
I'm not finding them.
I'm just sending them out right now.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Quite all right.
They are the most riveting thing that you read, I know.
Still no Paul.
Okay, it should be in your inbox. Yeah, he says it's not working. It's trying to load and not loading.
Okay.
Just got the minutes.
You did, okay. I still don't have them in my inbox.
I received them.
Oh, here we go. Okay. All right, meeting minutes. Did anybody have any concerns with the minutes, whether you read them before or you're looking at them now?
I did not.
Okay. Debbie, did you already look at them?
Are they okay with me?
Okay. I mean, they look correct to me. Doris and Jamie, did you also review?
Yeah, I just got it and did a quick look over. It looks okay.
Okay.
I'm fine with this day.
Okay.
Fine with the minutes.
All right, then let's take up the third item on the agenda on the meeting minutes from November 16th.
I'd move to approve them as written.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to accept the minutes as written and a second. All in favor through remote voting, say aye. Debbie?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Doris?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, so the minutes are accepted. Right. So I'm going to say we should move on to 20 Turnpike, and I'm going to appoint both Doris and Jamie to sit on the board as for this hearing. I assume everybody's had the opportunity to take a look at what the application is about. it is about a property on Route 9 where the Red Barn used to be on Route 9 East. This application is about approving a sign which is on a roof. So do we want to, oh, actually you need to read it, right, Katie, after you let him into the room?
Yes. Should be there. Am I good to read it into the record?
Yeah.
The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing via a virtual Zoom meeting Wednesday, December 16th, 2020 at 7 p.m. with regard to the petition of Jeff Newman, 20 Turnpike Road, Southborough, Mass. The petitioner is seeking a sign variance to alter a roof sign at the location of New York Bagel, formerly Red Barn Coffee Shop. Relief is requested under section 174-11C5-8. A copy of the application may be requested through the principal assistant to the Zoning Board of Appeals. That's me.
Right. And if we have Mr. Newman in the meeting, does he want to make a presentation?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you.
Good evening. Is Steve Ashkenas also in the meeting?
I do not see him yet.
Okay, all right. Well, let me get started. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jeff Newman. I'm the owner of the Signorama in Southborough, and I'm representing New York Bagel Factory at 20 Turnpike Road. And I believe everyone has had a chance to look at the packet. So New York Bagel Factory recently moved in to that Red Barn location. They actually have both locations on the westbound and the eastbound side. The eastbound side has a roof sign that, thanks to Katie's research, we've been able to determine that it's been there since at least 2012 when Red Barn first moved in. And the New York Bagel Factory would like to simply remove the Red Barn Coffee letters from the existing sign structure and simply put a new panel right over the same structure with the New York Bagel Factory logo and information. And apparently this sign, I don't think we ever did find a permit, right, Katie, through your research?
We did not find a permit.
Okay. So for some reason, after at least 8+ years, that roof sign has never been formally permitted. And because we believe in doing things the right way, we submitted a permit for it and found out that it was not a conforming sign or legally permitted. So here we are asking for a variance to simply put the same size face on the same size sign, and just so that patrons and potential new patrons can safely navigate their way to the Red Barn, to the New York Bagel Factory, and we're hoping that the board will be in agreement with that.
All right. I wanted to add before we ask all the members questions that there's also a provision in the code about the Board of Appeals will not act on any special permit or variance application without first receiving a written report from the planning board. Interesting how it's worded here. It says a favorable report of the planning board shall indicate, there's 5 conditions, and we do have there was a memo from the planning board included in the packet where they looked at all 5 factors. So I think it's a point of interest in the sign scale question. They agreed 5-0 that it was reasonable in relation to development scale. On the second question, size, shape, and placement serve to define or enhance architectural elements of the building, such as columns, sill lines, cornices, and roof edges, and do not unreasonably interrupt, obscure, or hide them. That was NA for 5. Third question, sign design is in harmony with other signage on the same or adjacent structures and provides reasonable continuity in mounting location and height, proportions, and materials. Yes was 2, no was 3. The fourth question, sign materials, colors, lettering style, illumination form are reasonably compatible with building design, neighborhood context, and use. Yes, 5, no, 0. And then the last question was the sign size, location, design, and illumination are not judged to present a safety hazard to vehicular or pedestrian traffic. Yes, 5, no, 0. So 3 of the 5 questions were 5 to 0. 1 was 2 to 3. 1 was all not applicable. And then there's a note just saying on question 4, 1 member voted yes with no exceptions. The other 4 voted yes, except for the lights, which are unshielded and point upward. The lights need to be updated to include shields and angled downward to minimize uplighting to become code compliant. So that's the summary of the memo from the zone, from the planning board. So does anybody? Why don't we start with questions? Craig, do you have any questions for Mr. Newman?
No, I don't actually have any questions. It seems pretty straightforward. I mean, the sign exists, has existed for a long time, and they're just trying to update the names within the existing sign. The one thing I do want to emphasize is that I completely agree with the planning board that the lights, which you can see in page 7 of the packet, do need to be updated. You know, they should not be hanging from the eave pointing up at the sign. They should be redone to be from the top and point down and have proper shading and shielding and whatnot. But otherwise, no, I think this is a pretty straightforward, correction of something that either happened somewhere else or, in some other approval process or got lost or whatever. I think the sign's been there long enough that this isn't anything I'm concerned with.
Okay, thank you. Debbie, did you have any questions or thoughts you wanted to share on it?
I just wanted to share some thoughts. I think that there's some other roof signs across the street from this location. There's some precedent, I guess, and also this sign has been there for a number of years, as you found. I am concerned that the bylaw doesn't allow roof signs. And so it's, I think, unclear to me how there are roof signs. Excuse me, I didn't follow or see in the packet how that came to be, or any of them actually. I think there's 3 on the other side of the road, if I'm not mistaken. But section 174.11C28 says for roof signs, no sign shall be erected or maintained on the roof of any building or structure in any district. And so I find that kind of interesting that it also says maintained. And I think, when a proponent comes with a project, we should be looking at this as if, this would be the time to make sure that everything is kind of up to code. And so my concern is, I don't think this is allowable in the code. I don't know what happened in town. I can't follow it from what's in the packet. But it's there. And in addition, there doesn't seem to be anything else in our code about roof signs. So I did a quick search on the online version, and the only roof sign is that section 174.11C28. So for example, when we're talking about the dimensional requirements for the signs in 174.11D, there's no roof signs. So I'm a little bit, I guess, in a way troubled, I say, So I understand where Craig is coming from. It seems like an easy enough switch, it's been there for a long time. And this is, certainly very similar. On the other hand, I think that, as board members, that we're looking at each project individually that comes before us. And if there's something that is, not lawful, then we shouldn't approve it. The other piece that I was looking at is that whether or not this is legally non-conforming. And I don't think it is. So I don't think it falls into that category. So the only thing that I see is, not only does our bylaw say that no roof sign shall be erected, but it also says no roof sign shall be maintained, which I find to be just interesting language. Not sure if I were writing that I would have put that in there, but evidently whoever wrote it put it in there for a reason. So I think it's very absolute, and I don't really see much wiggle room. And I think in general, as a board, I'd be afraid that if we continue, or start to think about just, not grandfathering in everything that might have been done in the past, that we're not putting a fresh pair of eyes to each project that comes before us. So I'm looking at it from that perspective as a fresh pair of eyes. Unfortunately, I don't see that a roof sign is allowed anywhere in our bylaw.
Thank you.
Debbie, that's specific to the entire town, doesn't say if it's commercial or residential. It's just kind of a blanket
Yeah.
statement. Is that correct?
It specifies any district. It says, again, no sign shall be, roof signs, no sign shall be erected or maintained on the roof of any building or structure in any district. Yeah.
Hi, Debbie. I actually reading that exactly how you're reading it. If I come in as a blank slate, all I'm reading is there's no roof signs. And then I took a look at two other sections, which is the non-conforming element. The roof sign isn't addressed in the non-conforming, and there's not access to history of any changes, I suppose, in between. Is specifically if you put new lettering on, you have some relief under non-conforming signs. But lettering makes you make it conform. The next paragraph, which addresses that should we, give relief, it says non-conforming signs may continue to be maintained if it fell under that, but shall not be enlarged, reworded, redesigned, or altered in any way unless it's brought into conformity with these requirements. So as soon as you make a change to the sign, is the way I'm reading it, you'd have to bring it into conformity, and then you're back in a loop where there's no conforming roof signs. Also in the building report, it specifically lists the reason not to give the permit was for no roof sign. One other point on a roof sign, because it wasn't permitted, I understand the lighting could be brought up in a different way. I'm not really certain when I looked at the sign, the structural element on the sign. I'm not an engineer, but it's just two braces. And there must be a reason we don't have roof signs. And I'm not saying it's going to blow off in the blizzard tonight. But I can't state to whether or not the sign is safe, even though there was a recommendation that there were five planning board members felt the sign was safe. I don't know that the sign is safe necessarily. A third element of it, when I was looking at the property, there's signage. There's signage, and should the applicant look to maybe readdress the signage totality, that sign I don't think exists above Red Barn. It exists above the self-storage. There's only so many signs that you can have. There's a multiple sign rule, and it goes on to list, you can have, especially on Route 9, you could have one, one adhered to the building, one in the standing out on Route 9 with the other three signs that are out on Route 9, and to kind of bring the whole signage into conformity. Because there's a number of signs. There's flags, there's two flags, temporary, I think, but there's three flags out on Route 9 right now. I think three. So maybe it's a time to bring it into conformities, like the code says.
Jamie, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously kind of a conundrum. My initial thought is that the business bought this building, obviously assuming they would have this signage. Might be part of the reason why they leased there or bought the space or using the space. I know this location well, and it's a well-trafficked area on Route 9. It doesn't really affect private homeowners at all. I personally am inclined to let them keep the sign, but I think Debbie and Doris also make very valid points about the existing law. So, I don't know.
And so I see Paul's in the call now. So Paul, we can take your inputs. Unfortunately, I've already appointed Doris and Jamie, so you won't be voting tonight, but you still have the ability to offer your opinion or ask questions. But you have to come off mute first.
Yeah.
Find the mute button, Paul.
Oh boy.
There you
I'm
go.
on my phone now. Am I on now?
Yes.
Yep, you are.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Oh, sorry about that, guys.
No
For some
problem.
reason, the link isn't working on my computer at all.
Okay.
I
So
understand I've been demoted. That's okay.
you've been demoted for tonight, Paul. But it's still allowable for you to ask questions or offer your opinion on it. You won't be a voting member on this hearing.
Understandable.
So do you have anything you wanted to add here?
Not as of yet. No.
Okay.
David, if you don't mind, kind of going back to where Debbie and Doris and Jamie were in terms of it not being allowed, the variance request is there for us to address things in the zoning code that aren't officially allowed. Officially you're not allowed to encroach on a setback. That's not allowed, but that's where people come. So this issue of a sign, a roof sign that exists, however it exists, is kind of that same thing of where do we address where the zoning code is inconsistent. So Doris said, you can fix a non-compliant sign, but as soon as you try and fix it, for this type of sign, you have to take it down to make it conforming. So I don't think that's kind of the intent of fixing a non-conforming sign, but maybe fixing the lighting or ensuring that it's structurally sound as part of this process is making it conform to the extent possible. So I get uncomfortable when we start going down the path of we shouldn't be allowing anything that isn't allowed per the zoning code, because then there is no variance and there is no, leeway in how things can be interpreted.
Yeah, and I want to say as well, Craig, that I think I'm coming from a little bit more of the view of when we get something of, and even though it doesn't fit exactly here, was already non-conforming, they're not going to make the non-conformance worse, and we allow them to improve what they're doing on a deck, an addition, or whatever the case may be. So I understand the way the code is written, but I guess I'm viewing it through that lens and from a practical perspective. The sign existed. We don't know by what authority it was put up, but all we have is the notes that came from a selectmen's meeting from years ago. But I guess I view it more as if they're just changing the lettering, and again, if they fix the lights, I think you've got a point, Craig, that that is why we have a zoning board of appeals, is to say this doesn't comply with the code, but these are the reasons why we think we should, it's allowable in this case. So Mr. Newman, did you have anything further you wanted to add or any questions you had for any of the zoning board members?
Well, I just want to say that I agree with you and Craig that it's the whole reason why we come to the zoning board for a variance when the square peg doesn't fit in the round hole, and we're asking for relief from the zoning code, and that just is the right way to do things. Not everything is black and white, so there's a lot of gray here, and New York Bagel Factory is counting on that sign on the roof to attract customers to their site. We all know how difficult it's been for businesses, especially restaurants and takeout, to survive, and signage really does make a difference. So we're counting on that roof sign to help them get off to a good start and build that business up for them.
Katie, just to be clear, of the abutters, there was nobody that raised any objections. Nobody came back to you or to the building department with some reasons why they don't want this to happen.
No, I did get an inquiry from the neighbor right next door, just asking what it was. And I sent her the packet, and I think she said that was fine. She didn't know
Okay.
exactly what the scope of the work was, and when she saw it, she had
Okay, all right.
So I also do, Mr. Newman, I appreciate your point of, visibility and marketing of a retail establishment, especially in these times. I don't doubt for a second that when New York Bagel was inquiring about purchasing the Red Barn sites, and I don't know if they purchased this property or assumed the lease under it or whatever, that having that sign and visibility was part of the equation and part of the calculation as to what they could pay for it, knowing that they would have this piece of marketing available to them. And I do think if we don't allow them to move forward with it, that would be a hardship on their business, and a financial hardship that, quite honestly, Red Barn didn't have to face. So, I think that would be an unequal playing field in that sense.
I agree.
Yeah, I did too. I just have a quick question. Again, I'm inclined to allow this. I noticed at the bottom of the planning board's report, they mentioned contacting town council. Did anyone do that?
So Katie and Lori reached out to me kind of asking about that in a sense. And my understanding was the planning board was questioning whether or not this constituted a use variance as opposed to just a sign variance. And they wanted town council to opine on that. And I couldn't see any way, shape, or form that a sign is a use. Like, you do not build a building to say the use is going to be a sign. It's an office building, it's residential, it's retail, it's whatever. So I did not think that my suggestion to Katie and Lori was that that's not something we should ask the town manager or town administrator, Mark Purple, to ask Aldo to opine on. It just did not seem
And
at all like
excuse
a
me.
use variance type of question.
Yeah, and that's something that Katie raised to me as well via email with Lori Lavoli, and I felt the same way. A use variance is, it's a residence, and now we're going to put it in business. This is clearly not the case. I don't see how you would possibly interpret this as a use variance. It's only related to the sign. It's clearly a business zone. That didn't seem to apply. So.
Oh, what is, when we as a board offer relief, for variance, we're looking, if it's an encroachment or something like that, we're bound by, some, the soil, the topography, the dimensions, right? So what is the, and we get approached by a lot of different proponents that have hardships. So, but we have to really stick to, what the bylaw tells us is what type of relief we can offer. What they're asking for is a sign that is not allowed. And I don't know what the planning board was thinking when they deliberated, but I can imagine that it's a new use for a sign where none is allowed by law. I don't know about, that we need to, speak to town council or anything like that, but I think that's maybe, my mind goes there as well. It's simply not allowed. And we have no, formula to decide. We're not talking about dimensions or, topography or something that would qualify for hardship. We've had people come before us before that have had also economic hardship and things like that. And we just can't always say, okay, we want to give this to you just because we know it's a hardship. We have to follow, what the people who in town have decided by putting together these bylaws that we have to follow. Is there a hardship on that we should be following?
But that's a question for Mr. Newman. Is there anything dimensionally that is a hardship in terms of what you can do on that property in terms of signs?
Well, yeah, if you look at the building, there's very little wall area that a decent sign, and it's also quite low. So the visibility is certainly nowhere near what it would be where it currently is situated on the roof. So there's limited wall area and it's low to the ground, and it would not have the same impact whatsoever as the roof sign.
Am I correct in saying that the roof sign is not on the New York Babel? It's on the other building. Is that a fair statement? Just, it's a semantic. It's the other lessee's space. It's just a question. You don't have to answer. If you don't know, you don't know. It's okay.
I'm not sure, because the last time I was there, it was locked, so I never was inside.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
It appears to be above self-storage. So there's, what I'm kind of go back to Deb is the existing relief is to somehow find a way to get another sign on the property that's not on the roof. I didn't see in the application that, did it state there was a financial burden in that application, Katie? That would be demonstrated? Or we're just assuming there's a financial burden?
I think it did say something about bringing in customers.
Well, that's not a financial burden. We all want to bring in customers.
Well, that's true, but
We're trying to find a mechanism that doesn't, I hear what Greg is saying, but it kind of addresses the sign in a couple of different ways in the code. It's not listed. A roof sign, for me, the issue, even if we could make it conform with lighting and structure, it's on a roof with new lettering, with a structure that wasn't permitted, and to make it right, give them a sign. There is a standing sign. There's a quite large standing sign that is quite visible from Route 9.
The standing sign is appropriate.
Yes, it is. It's permitted.
And it's permitted. However, because it's amongst other signs, it gets a little bit lost. And by right, signs are allowed on buildings, maybe not on roofs, but on buildings. And those two, it's another way to market your business. It gives additional visibility. And sometimes people don't see the freestanding sign because there are multiple names and companies there, so it gets lost. But a sign of this size on the roof is very visible, and it does stand out, and it is eye-catching. So I think if they had their choice, they would do without the freestanding sign and go with the roof sign.
Doris, did you want me to read the application?
Just a statement of the application. So I'm trying to hear where there's an immediate financial burden tied into the lease, as Jamie is saying. I don't know if it's lined out in the lease. Often the commercial lease will be very specific about signage at the time of signing, at least the leases I've signed. They talk a lot about signage. If you would kindly do that, Katie.
Sure. Yep. So the description, number 12 of the application form says the Red Barn Coffee roof sign has been in place for many years, possibly without a permit or variance. The new tenant's New York Bagel Factory requires the visibility that is this 31 square foot sign face provides to Route 9 East traffic in order to build and sustain a variable business. As a new business to Southborough, the sign is especially important, not just for the short-term, but long-term success. Having been in place for so long, this roof sign has become a landmark on Route 9 in Southborough. The sign structure will stay in place. We will only remove the Red Barn Coffee letters on the sign face and cover the face with the New York Bagel Factory sign face. There will be no change in dimensions or structure, only the name and colors.
Thank you, Katie. I don't have a question. I don't have a question on that.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know that there's more, I don't know that there's really much more valuable discussion to be had. Clearly the issue is it's an existing non-conforming sign because it's a roof sign. I'd say I don't know, to me, there's some hardship based on the size of the property, but that's more for the applicant to make the argument for. If we are, if there's no more discussion, then we can take a motion to close the public hearing.
We haven't actually asked anyone in the public if we have any comments, but I mean, I do think financial hardship is one of the hardships that you can claim. It doesn't necessarily have to be, it is topography, it is size, but financial hardship is also one of the hardships. So.
Katie, we don't have anybody from the public that wants to weigh in an opinion here, do we?
Don't see any hands raised.
Okay. I think that's as much as we can do to ask for public input.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Newman, do you have any final comments before we close public hearing?
Well, I think everything's been said that needs to be said. I would just reiterate that the new tenants, and they are leasing this space. They did not buy the building. They're leasing, are counting on having this type of marketing, this type of visibility. And I think that it would create a great hardship on their business to be without that type of sign. And I'm hoping, I mean, there are valid arguments across the board, but I would hope there would be concern for helping businesses stay alive and thrive in this economy and give them every advantage that they can have. I think the planning board, agreed that there was no hardship or there was no detriment to the public by continuing to have this sign. So I'm hoping the board today votes favorably to keep this sign and allow us to alter it.
Well, certainly as far as that part of what we need to consider, it does not derogate because it's already there. It would just be modifying what exists now. So I certainly hear you on that. Okay. Does any board members have anything else they wanted to add? Any further discussion before we close the public hearing? Okay, then. That being the case, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of closing the public hearing, respond with aye. Debbie? Greg?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Doris?
Aye.
And aye for me as well. So that will close the public part of the meeting. I think all we really have is to just take a vote on the application as written. I don't know that we have any modifications that have been suggested or proposed thus far. So it seems to me it's pretty straightforward.
So two things just as part of the discussion here. David, can you make sure everyone's clear on what level of vote needs to occur for this to either go or not go forward? Just so we're all reminded of where that stands. And then, I'm inclined to vote in favor of the variance, but if that's the motion we want to make, then I would want the condition that the lighting be modified to be more code compliant as part of it as well.
Right. Yeah, I would agree that that would be a condition. So I apologize for not including that. This is a variance application. Honestly,
We need 4 votes in
is that
favor.
4? Yeah.
It's a super vote then, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you need 4 votes. Yeah, I mean, I would be, if we're going to vote, if we approve it, it would be with the condition that the lights be addressed. But again, I don't know that I see another avenue here other than that we need to take a vote. We need to have four approvals in order to approve the variance. So would anybody like to make a motion?
I'm happy to make a motion. Having found a financial hardship in not allowing the sign to remain per their business and marketing plan when they bought and assumed the lease, I move that we approve the variance subject to the condition that the lighting that is there now be replaced with code compliant lighting with down facing lights and proper shields.
Does that have a second?
Second.
All right. So the motion before the board is to approve the variance as written with the provision being that lights would be on the sign would be brought up to code. So we'll do the voting that we do on Zoom one at a time. In favor, say aye. Debbie? Debbie's no. Craig?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Doris?
No.
And I'm aye. So that's 3-2. Therefore, that the variance, the application for variance will be denied. Unfortunately, your recourse, Mr. Newman, would be, what is that? I don't know if that's through land court or outside counsel. Okay.
Can I just say one last thing? I'm a small business owner myself. I don't know how many of you are. but a small business owner puts
The
his,
public hearing was closed.
I'm sorry?
The public hearing was closed. Paul's
All right.
right about that.
Okay. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Okay. So we already looked at the meeting minutes and approved them. The only other item we had on the agenda was changes to the ZBA application form. And Katie, I don't know, do you want to just highlight what it is that's updated on the application?
Yep, it should be, I hope, pretty straightforward. So last time we went over some of these and you asked if that was everything that I kind of run into, and I was like, yep, and I was totally wrong. So on the appeal application, the 30-day requirement isn't in there. So though it is referred to like when the building commissioner gives her opinion, and she says, you have this ability for MGL, whatever it is. It's not on the application form, and I thought it would just be nice to have it in there so it's very transparent, very obvious, so there's absolutely no confusion. But it's totally up to you. It was working fine before that. I just thought it would be another nice to have.
So is that's in the appeal application instructions page, Katie?
Yep, most of it's on the instructions. I also added it to section 11 of the application itself. It usually just says details of the appeal, details of the decision being appealed, and I just wrote details and date, kind of
Okay.
forcing them to write down when the decision was to kind of jog that.
Okay.
That is relevant.
All right. I mean, I think that, certainly adding the time period, the 30 days, makes perfectly good sense. I think that, the intent here is to make it easier for the applicant, make it clear. So I think it looks good to me. Has anybody else review the form and have any comments to make?
Looks good.
Good, me too.
No comment.
Comment from Paul. Doris, are you okay with it?
I'm okay with that, Dave.
I mean, Debbie, any comments? So to make changes to this, I think, didn't we discuss this before? It doesn't require a vote really from the board, does it? It's just instructions.
Well, the application is being changed. I added the word date to section 11.
Okay.
Pretty sure I was told by the town clerk when I started that anything had to be voted on. I have to change the date of when it was revised on the actual.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right,
I think
so
that's why we asked for other things to be listed as an attachment, so we didn't have to keep voting every time like a fee changed or something.
Yeah. All right. Well, then we can make it official by taking a vote on the changes as made by Katie to the application form.
So moved.
Okay. All right. So I moved. Craig second. All in favor of the changes made to the appeal application form, respond with aye. Debbie? Craig?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Doris?
Aye.
And Paul?
I'm back on board. Aye.
You can vote on this one, Paul.
Oh, awesome.
You're out of the timeout room.
Great, thank you. So I will update that and put it on the website.
Okay. Okay. All right. And that was all that we had on the agenda for the meeting. I don't know, was there, Katie, right now we're looking at January 20th. Is that correct?
Yes, we have no applications.
We have nothing so far? Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else that needs to be brought up in front of the board before we adjourn?
Actually, Katie, just out of curiosity, in order for proper notice, when would you have to have an application?
2 weeks. Oh, wait, hold on.
Oh.
All right. I would need to, so the big part is the public hearing notice to the newspaper. That needs to be in. That needs to be in by the 11th.
By the 11th, okay.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was still in December. That needs to be in by the 1st, January 1st.
January 1st. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because it has to be in on the 6th, the 13th, then we meet on the 20th. So I need it in the Friday before the 6th, which is the 1st.
Okay.
So probably,
So
I
the
don't
odds
know
are,
that the, yeah, so
Yeah,
probably the 31st, I would say in the morning, most likely they're not open on the 1st.
so the odds are good that we may not see anything for the January 20th meeting.
Yeah,
Right.
I haven't heard of anybody even asking.
Okay. All right. Any other business for the board? Okay. All right.
Paul,
Hopefully everybody enjoys the holiday. Do we have any motions, Paul?
Yes. I make a motion to adjourn.
second.
Second. All right, so moved. Vote to adjourn. Debbie? Debbie, aye, I guess. Can't hear you, Debbie. Craig?
Yeah, aye.
Paul?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Doris?
Yes.
Aye for me as well. The meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the holidays. Thanks for dialing in tonight.
Sorry for my delay.
It's okay, Paul. So we'll have that all worked out for the next one.
Who knows?
We hope. Okay. All right. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right, bye.
All right. Bye.